Is your self-doubt sabotaging your life? Let's talk. Hey guys, welcome back to another Mind Right Monday. I'm your host, Bonnie Kelly. Today we're talking about self-doubt and how it might be sabotaging your life, your self-confidence, or your self-worth. Now, self-doubt is something everybody has. I don't think anyone that I've ever encountered doesn't struggle with this to some degree. Maybe you have self-doubt when it comes to fitness and nutrition, or your abilities and capabilities, or the way that you look, or the way that you feel, or in relationships. I mean, it could be in your finances, it can be in your business, it could be in attracting new clients. It could be 1,000 different things that you could be struggling with self-doubt. But does it really have to be that big of a plague? Does it have to be something that seems to just haunt us and it's just affect everybody we encounter? And the answer is no, because self-doubt can be overcome. And so today we're going to talk about my 3 ways that you can overcome self-doubt, and we'll dive into the first one, which is know your thoughts. What is your inner dialogue? Okay, so the very first thing is probably a no-brainer for anybody who's done any personal development work. You're like, duh, Bonnie, know your thoughts, monitor your thoughts. But I cannot emphasize the importance of this enough, is when we want to end that cycle of self-sabotage when it comes to being insecure or having self-doubt, if we want to just tell that inner critic in the mind to slow down, then we really need to get clear about why he's flaring up in the first place. Why is that inner critic like loud and obscene right now? And what is it saying? What is it attacking you about? Without that intel, then it's easy to just be a little bit too vague. We need to get very specific in understanding why and how your self-doubt is affecting you particularly. Everybody's self-doubt is going to impact them in different ways and say different things. But when we can know that inner dialogue, well, then an opportunity arises. We can see maybe that you're only insecure in very specific areas, or it flares up and it's triggered by very specific things. And when we know that information, it's a lot easier to be able to change it. So William Shakespeare said it best when he said, "Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we often might win by fearing to attempt." Our self-doubt is going to keep us stuck. It'll hold you back from taking risk and taking action. And you never know what you might be able to accomplish or achieve if we can conquer this self-doubt. But you have to know why and where your self-doubt is showing up in your life. Why is it attacking you? And what specific way is it attacking you? Knowing that intel is going to make it a lot easier for us to shift. So let me take you into my next tip, which is challenge your inner critic. Okay, so as you can see, we're going in progression of order. We need to know what we're thinking and why. Where is this coming from and how is he attacking? Next from that, we need to challenge that inner critic. A lot of times, we're so used to that voice inside of our head, we forget that it's not real. We forget to separate it from our identity. One of the key things that you can begin to do right now is you need to name that inner critic. You need to give it a face so we can separate it from our identity. Because typically what ends up happening is the little voice inside of our head that's beating us up, we think that that's us. We think that that's just us beating ourselves up, when all that really is our fear. All that really is old conditioning and our insecurities kind of flaring up. And that's just a small part of us, like your sense of humor. So when we can separate it, we can create a psychological barrier between us and the toxicity. That's going to make it a lot easier for you to challenge what that inner critic is saying. So here's my disclaimer around naming your inner critic. It needs to be fictitious. You cannot name your inner critic your ex-boyfriend, your mother, your cousin, or the evil store clerk that pissed you off last week. This needs to be a fake name, okay? Look at all the Disney villains that we've all grew up knowing and loving. You can have Ursula. You can have the evil, stepmother, Cruella de Vil. You could have Poison Ivy. You can call it whatever you want. Just name it something to create that distance between you and that talk. So then when it comes into the mind and when it's attacking you and saying that you're weak or you're pathetic or you can't do it, now we can say, "Hey, Cruella, thank you so much for your advice. However, that's not so true. Here's what I believe. Now what we did is we just separated it. This is what Corella thinks versus this is what I think. And while we can begin to have that inner dialogue of separating that negativity from ourselves, it's easier to challenge it. Because if you really asked yourself, what is your honest opinion about what is being said, your heart of hearts, and I mean that part of you that is perfect, whole, and complete, doesn't believe that you're weak and insecure. The Corella DeVille of the mind does. The inner critic does. The gremlin, the monkey mind does. But that's not the truth. That's just the perceived truth, no matter how much you think it might be true. Remind yourself that that is just something you've heard over and over and over and over again, and that's the only reason why you believe it. But it's not your truth, and it doesn't have to continue to be your truth. So separate the identity and begin to challenge it from, that's your perspective. Let me tell you my perspective. And then you can give your inner critic a new thing to think about. Here's a new way I want to perceive this. Here's a new way I want to think about this. And when we can do that, it makes it a lot easier to be able to shift it. So Ron Barrett left us with a really cool quote where he said, "You will never follow your own inner voice until you clear up the doubts in your mind." We have to take those insecurities and doubt, separate them from ourselves, and clear them away so you can hear the calling of your truest voice, your inner guiding system that is truly going to remind you that you are perfect, whole, and complete. You're perfectly imperfect human that deserves love and abundance and grace and joy. And when we can reconnect to that inner voice and we can clear away the other garbage that doesn't belong here, you can truly live a magnificent life. All right, this leads me to my third and final tip today, which is replace your negative self-talk. All right, here's the third and final step. We want to now replace it. So once we've able to identify it, we get to understanding how it's playing a role in our life. Then we're able to start to separate it from our identities, right? We're going to name it and begin to challenge it as a part of just old self, old thinking. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to begin to replace it with something more empowering. Now step 2 and 3 kind of go hand in hand. Like as you're challenging that, saying that's your thought, here's my thought, now you want to replace it with something more empowering. And so if you could be any version of yourself that you could, who would you be? How would you think about this? If you didn't have limitations and restrictions and doubts or fear, who would you be? How would you respond? And so when we take off the pressure and we really say, okay, what would I want to say here? How would I want to be here? Now we can cultivate something that's truly empowering. And you don't have to feel it to be true to affirm it as your truth. Because that feeling of knowing it's true is going to develop over repetition and time. So you have to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself consistency. You have to give yourself time for that to become your new truth. This new identity is going to take a little while to form. You've spent a lifetime forming this old, insecure version of yourself. So you have to recognize that it's going to take a little bit of time to not only clear that away, but to really step into this newer version. You've allowed the Corella DeVille of the mind to run the show for decades. You can't honestly expect just changing your thoughts one time is going to change everything. It takes time. It takes consistency. But with the right accountability, the right coach, the right kind of training, you can really be able to change any aspect of that you desire. So sometimes it requires outside help, but for now, just be willing to just step into this new empowering self and clear away the limitations, the excuses, the whatever it is that you say, well, I can't do that, Bonnie. And I say, friend, yes, you can. Because however you want to perceive yourself is your choice. Because it's really just exists in your mind. You can think of yourself any way you want. You can think of yourself as shy and insecure, or you can think of yourself as outgoing and confident. You can think of yourself as stupid and pathetic, or you can think of yourself as really charismatic and very witty. That is totally up to you, because you get to choose those identifiers. And the more that we define who we are, the more we become those things as well. You're going to find if you think you're funny and you say, I'm hysterical, is that you're going to find that you tend to be a lot more funny. But it's because we're conditioning the mind to say this is how we think. But if we say that I'm not funny, well, guess what? You're probably never going to really get those quick-witted jokes because it's just not going to be a part of your everyday language. So there's a really great quote that I want to share with you, which is, willpower is the key to success. Successful people strive no matter what they feel by applying their will to overcome apathy, doubt, or fear. Dan Millman. See, it's your willingness to continue to move forward despite the fear, despite the doubts, despite the insecurities. And to persevere beyond that is what allows you to be successful. So every time the Cruella de Vil of the mind shows up, challenge it. Be willing to replace it with something more empowering and more in alignment with who you desire to be, or deep down inside who you know you're capable of being. Because at the end of the day, it's your choice. Hopefully you learned something from today's video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are here for you every step of the way. If you got a personal development question, you can email me anytime at getinspired@bonniekelly.me. And if you're ready to take the next step in your journey, try my 7-day emotional detox for free. You can do it right now, no credit card required, by going to the 21dayemotionaldetox.com/free. This is in 10 minutes or less to get out of your way and get on with your life. Until next time, I'm Bonnie Kelly. Did you enjoy this video? I sure hope so. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get videos, tips, and tools delivered to you each and every single week. As you know, we are here to help you every step of the way. So if you're ready to find out more on how we can serve you, reach out to us. You can email me at getinspired@bonniekelly.me, or you can go to my website at bonniekelly.me. That is where you're going to find all of our online programs, classes. We have tons of freebies that we offer out on a regular basis to continue to serve and uplift people just like you. And if you're ready to get some serious one-on-one coaching, then you need to give me a call. We're here for you. Until next time, I'm Bonnie Kelly.